Hello, my tender-hearted gardener. Welcome back to Golden Garden Moments, where we grow wisdom alongside green things. I see you there, kneeling in your empty garden bed at dawn, seed packets trembling in your hands, while last year's dead tomato vines crunch under your knees. I feel that ache, the one that tightens your throat when you remember the basil that turned yellow overnight, the zucchini that rotted before it ripened, the tears you cried into the soil when nothing grew. That whisper of shame. Am I broken? Why can't I do this one simple thing? I've been there. Years ago, after my third failed garden, I stood in my barren backyard holding a $50 bag of compost, sobbing as squirrels buried acorns in my empty rows, until I pressed the single sunflower seed into the dirt and whispered, "Teach me to begin again." Today, we're not just avoiding mistakes, we're healing the gardeners. Over the next 80 minutes, I'll share 10 common mistakes new gardeners make, not as a list of failures, but as sacred lessons earned through broken stems and wilted dreams. These aren't textbook theories. They're truths earned through 14 years of blisters, tears, and soil under my nails. So unplug from the noise, pour yourself mint tea, place your palm flat on the earth, and breathe. Let's grow together. Before we begin, if this is your first time at Golden Garden Moments, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon. Why? Because every week I share gardening wisdom that honors your humanity, not just your harvest. Subscribe!
Mistake number 1. Watering by the calendar, not the soil. Hear that relentless drip, drip, drip from your automatic sprinkler on a cloudy Tuesday? Watering by schedule, not soil. This silent killer of new gardens. I learned this the hard way when my first tomato patch drowned in a week of spring rain. I watered anyway because Tuesdays are watering days. Roots rotted. Blackened stems collapsed. That's not care, that's control disguised as love. Plants don't read calendars. They speak in the language of soil. Why this breaks beginner dreams. Root suffocation. Overwatering fills soil pores with water, starving roots of oxygen. Your plants literally drown in your love. Disease magnet. Wet soil breeds fungal pathogens like fusarium wilt that kill 3 times faster than drought. Weak growth. Constant moisture creates shallow roots that can't survive summer heat. The guilt cycle. New gardeners water more when plants wilt, often from overwatering, creating a death spiral. Golden Garden Moments healing ritual. The finger test. Before watering, insert your finger 2 inches into soil. Water only if it feels dry at the tip. Weight wisdom. Lift pots before and after watering. Learn the heavy equals wet, light equals dry rhythm of your containers. Rain respect. Install a $5 rain gauge. Skip watering if you've had ½ inch of rain in 48 hours. Dawn alignment. Water at sunrise when roots absorb moisture most efficiently. Never water at night. Rot thrives in cool, dark dampness. Sacred moment. During my burnout year, I forgot to water my entire garden for 3 weeks. To my shock, the tomatoes produced sweeter, smaller fruits on stronger stems. My mentor smiled. Sometimes the earth teaches us restraint. For renters, use terracotta pots. They're porous and show moisture loss through color change. Dark equals wet, light equals dry. In humid climates, add extra perlite to potting mix. Warning, yellow lower leaves often mean overwatering, not underwatering. Don't drown your grief in more water. This truth teaches true care isn't about giving everything you have. It's about giving what the soil asks for.
Mistake number 2. Planting in poor soil and expecting miracles. Feel that resistance as your trowel strikes hard pan earth? Planting in unprepared soil, the foundation mistake that topples every garden dream. I learned this when I scattered $30 worth of heirloom seeds into my backyard's builder-grade clay. Nothing sprouted. My neighbor's identical seeds thrived in her raised beds. Her secret? She'd spent winter feeding the earth. That's not luck. That's respect for the ground that holds us. Why this shatters new gardener confidence? Root prison. Compacted soil prevents root expansion. Plants become stunted, stressed, and vulnerable. Nutrient trap. Fertilizers wash away or burn roots in barren soil. Plants starve while swimming in chemicals. Water chaos. Clay holds water like concrete. Sand drains like a sieve. Neither sustains life. The hidden cost? Every failed plant deepens the belief, I'm bad at this, when the soil was the true culprit. Golden Garden Moments Earth Ritual. Soil confession. Before planting, dig a 12-inch hole, squeeze a fistful of damp soil. If it forms a hard ball, like clay, or won't hold shape, like sand, amend it. Compost covenant. Mix 3 inches of homemade compost in the top 6 inches of soil. No compost? Layer cardboard plus fallen leaves over beds weighted with branches. Michael's Magic. Sprinkle used coffee grounds over soil. They feed beneficial fungi that help roots communicate. Patience Pact. Wait 2 weeks after amending before planting. Let earthworms and microbes rebuild the soil web. Heartfelt story? After my divorce, I inherited my ex-husband's barren yard. On my first planting day, I broke my shovel on packed clay. I sat in the dirt sobbing. Then I remembered Baba Elena's words, feed the soil, not the plants. I spent that winter burying kitchen scraps under cardboard. By spring, earthworms had transformed it. My daughter's first sunflower grew 6 feet tall. For small spaces, use 5-gallon buckets filled with 50% compost plus 50% topsoil. Drill drainage holes. Warning, never use fresh manure. It burns roots and may contain pathogens. Always compost first. This wisdom teaches you cannot give what you do not have. To grow life, first grow the ground that holds it.
Mistake number 3, ignoring sun requirements and blaming the plants. Watch that basil's leaves curl and brown on your south porch. Now imagine it thriving in dappled shade. Ignoring sun requirements, the silent betrayal of new gardeners. I learned this when I planted shade-loving hostas under my blazing patio. They withered while my neighbor's identical plants flourished in her north side garden. Her secret? She'd tracked sunlight patterns for a week before planting. That's not expertise, that's listening to the light. Why this crushes beginner hope? Photosynthesis starvation? Full sun plants and shade stretch weakly toward light. Shade plants and sun get sunburned, brown, crispy edges. Bloom failure. Tomatoes need 8+ hours of direct sun to fruit. In 4 hours, all leaf, no tomato. Energy theft. Plants spend energy fighting wrong conditions instead of growing food. The shame spiral. New gardeners think, I killed it, when the location was the true killer. Golden Garden Moments Light Ritual. Shadow mapping. On a sunny day, trace your garden's shadow lines every 2 hours with flour. Photograph the pattern. Plant matchmaking. Match plants to your light zones. Full sun, 6+ hours. Tomatoes, peppers, lavender. Part sun, 4 to 6 hours. Lettuce, kale, hydrangeas. Full shade, less than 4 hours. Hostas, ferns, coral bells. Microclimate magic. Use reflective surfaces like white walls and mirrors to bounce light into shady spots. Seasonal shifts. Remap shadows in spring and fall. Summer shadows lie. Sacred memory. During chemotherapy, I could only garden from my wheelchair. My east window got 3 hours of morning sun. I planted full sun herbs anyway. They died. My hospice gardener gave me a variegated pothos instead. She said this one knows how to thrive in small light. It's still alive today, trailing over my writing desk. For renters, grow full sun plants on fire escapes. Check weight limits. Shade plants thrive in north-facing windows. Warning, never move established plants suddenly from shade to sun. They'll burn. Acclimate over 7 days. This truth teaches, true belonging isn't about forcing yourself to fit. It's about finding where your light lives.
Mistake number 4, planting too early or too late for your zone. Feel that hopeful warmth in April air. Now imagine ice crystals shattering your seedlings. Planting by calendar,
not climate, the heartbreak of eager gardeners. I learned this when I planted peas on April 1st, my birthday, during a Minnesota spring. A minus 10-degree Fahrenheit freeze 2 nights later turned my rows to black sludge. My neighbor planted the same seeds 10 days later and harvested buckets. Her secret? She'd learned her last frost date from the old Ukrainian woman who grew prize-winning cabbage. That's not luck. That's honoring your place. Why this erodes garden confidence? False starts. Warm spells trick us into planting before soil warms. Seeds rot. Seedlings freeze. Missed windows. Cool season crops, like spinach and peas, bolt to seed if planted after soil hits 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Zone betrayal. Following generic plant-by-month guides ignores microclimates like hills, valleys, and urban heat islands. The shame cycle. New gardeners blame themselves instead of the calendar. Golden Garden Moments timing ritual. Frost wisdom. Find your average last spring frost date at planthardiness.ars.usda.gov. Plant tender crops 2 weeks after this date. Soil truth. Use a $5 soil thermometer. Peas need 45 degrees Fahrenheit soil. Tomatoes need 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Moon phases. Optional but powerful. Plant root crops like carrots and beets during waning moon. Leaf and flower crops during waxing moon. Succession sowing. Plant quick crops like radishes every 2 weeks for continuous harvest. Heartfelt revelation. After my son's autism diagnosis, I obsessed over perfect timing for his therapies. One spring, I planted carrots too early. They failed. My son placed his small hand on my tear-streaked cheek. "Mama, we can try again tomorrow." We replanted. Those carrots became his favorite food. For urban gardens, south-facing balconies warm 2 weeks earlier than yards. North-facing balconies stay cooler longer, perfect for fall crops. Warning: never trust weather apps for frost. They're often wrong. Old farmers watch woolly bear caterpillars in onion skin thickness. This wisdom teaches your deepest harvests come not from forcing time, but from learning the rhythm of your own ground.
Mistake number 5. Overcrowding plants. The more is better lie. See those seedlings crammed into 1 square foot? Overcrowding plants, the well-intentioned mistake that invites disease and despair. I learned this when I planted 24 tomato seedlings in a 4x4 bed. The packet said space 24 inches apart. They grew into a tangled jungle where mildew spread like wildfire. My neighbor's 4 plants in the same space produced 3x more fruit. Her secret? She'd learned from her grandmother. Give them room to breathe, and they'll fill your baskets. That's not frugality. That's wisdom in spacing. Why this breaks beginner spirit? Airflow starvation. Crowded plants can't dry after rain, creating fungal paradise like powdery mildew and blight. Resource wars. Roots compete for water and nutrients. All plants stay weak. Harvest blindness. Fruits hide in dense foliage before they rot and you can harvest them. The guilt spiral. New gardeners think, I didn't try hard enough, when overcrowding was the true thief. Golden Garden Mom Space Ritual. Seed math. Read seed packets before planting. Circle spacing requirements in red pen. Thinning grace. Snip excess seedlings at soil line. Don't pull, they disturb roots. Compost the thinnings. Companion planting. Use space wisely. Tall plants like corn on north side. Medium plants like beans in the middle. Ground covers like squash on south edge. Container crowding rule. 1 tomato per 5-gallon pot. 1 pepper per 3-gallon pot. No exceptions. Sacred moment. During the 2020 lockdowns, I planted a pandemic garden with too many seeds. When tomatoes tangled, I couldn't bear to thin them. They all died. My daughter placed her small hand on my shoulder. Mama, sometimes love means letting go of some to save others. I thinned the next patch.
Those plants fed us for months. For small spaces, use vertical gardening. Peas on trellises, cucumbers on arches. Raised beds maximize space without crowding. Warning, never just a few more seedlings. They'll cost you the whole crop. This truth teaches true abundance isn't in cramming more life into small spaces. It's in giving each life room to become what it's meant to be.
Mistake number 6. Neglecting soil testing. Guessing instead of knowing. Feel that uncertainty as you sprinkle fertilizer on yellowing leaves. Neglecting soil testing, the guessing game that wastes time and money. I learned this when my blueberries refused to fruit for 3 years. I added fertilizer, compost, even coffee grounds. Nothing worked. One day, a soil scientist visited my garden. Her $15 test revealed pH 7.8. Blueberries need pH 4.5 to 5.5. That's not failure. That's ignorance disguised as effort. Why this frustrates new gardeners? Nutrient lockout. Even with perfect fertilizer, wrong pH blocks nutrient absorption. Iron deficiency turns leaves yellow even when iron is present. Wasted resources. Buying amendments without testing is like taking random medicines for an unknown illness. Misdiagnosis. Yellow leaves could mean nitrogen deficiency, overwatering, disease, or wrong pH. Testing reveals the truth. Shame spiral. Why won't anything grow when the soil was silently screaming for help? Heartfelt story. After my mother's dementia diagnosis, I couldn't afford garden soil tests. I used the vinegar and baking soda method on her childhood garden plot. The soil was exhausted from decades of family use. I spent winter burying fallen leaves and kitchen scraps. That spring, her favorite peonies bloomed for the first time in 15 years. She whispered, "The earth remembers me." For renters, test container soil yearly. Nutrients deplete faster in pots. Use $1 test strips from garden centers. Warning, never amend soil based on neighbors' advice. Your soil is unique. This wisdom teaches, true wisdom isn't in knowing all the answers, it's in asking the right questions of the earth.
Mistake 7. Using chemical fertilizers instead of building soil health. Hear that hollow whoosh as you scatter blue crystals across your beds? Using chemical fertilizers, the shortcut that starves your soil's soul. I learned this when my first-year garden produced giant tomatoes that tasted like water. I'd followed the feed every 2 weeks advice on the fertilizer bag like gospel. By year 2, nothing grew without doubling the dose. My soil had become a drug addict. My neighbor's garden thrived on compost tea. Her secret? Feed the soil, not the plants. That's not old-fashioned. That's biological wisdom. Why this creates dependency? Microbe massacre. Synthetic fertilizers kill beneficial bacteria and fungi that make nutrients available to plants. Nutrient imbalance. NPK fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, ignore trace minerals like calcium and magnesium critical for flavor and health. Water pollution. Excess chemicals leach into groundwater and streams, causing algae blooms that kill fish. Weakened plants. Fast growth from chemicals creates soft tissues vulnerable to pests and disease. Golden Garden Moments Healing Ritual. Compost Covenant. Start a simple pile. 3 parts brown, like leaves, cardboard, plus 1 part green from your kitchen scraps. Turn monthly. Cover crop grace. After harvest, plant crimson clover or winter rye. Chop and drop in spring. They become green manure. Tea ritual. Steep 1 cup of compost in 5 gallons of water for 24 hours. Strain, pour at plant bases weekly. Mineral marriage. Add crushed eggshells for calcium or wood ash for potassium. Nature's supplements. Sacred moment. During the 2020 wildfires, smoke turned my city orange for weeks. My chemical-fed tomato plants withered, but my compost-grown kale thrived, its deep roots finding clean water.
I fed neighbors with those green leaves, a reminder that life persists. For small spaces, use lasagna gardening in containers. Layer cardboard plus newspaper plus compost plus soil. For apartments, grow microgreens in egg cartons. They need no fertilizer. Warning: never use fresh manure or urine directly on plants. They burn roots. Always compost first. This truth teaches true nourishment isn't forced. It's built slowly, like trust.
Mistake number 8, ignoring pest signs until it's too late. See that tiny hole in the cabbage leaf you dismissed as just one bug? Ignoring early pest signs, the quiet betrayal that destroys entire harvests. I learned this when I spotted one aphid on my roses. It's just one, I thought. 2 weeks later, every leaf curled black with thousands. My neighbor noticed the same aphid and sprayed soapy water immediately. Her roses bloomed. That's not luck. That's attentive care. Why this devastates new gardens? Exponential growth. One aphid can produce 80 offspring in a week. Left unchecked, populations explode overnight. Plant stress? Pest damage weakens plants, making them vulnerable to disease and environmental stress. Chemical trap? Waiting until devastation forces desperate pesticide use that kills beneficial insects too. Shame spiral. How did this happen when early intervention could have saved everything? Golden Garden Moments Vigilance Ritual. Morning rounds. Spend 5 minutes daily examining leaf undersides and new growth. Early signs: tiny holes equaled caterpillars, sticky residue equals aphids, white fuzz equals mealybugs, skeletonized leaves equals beetles. Beneficial allies: plant dill, fennel, and yarrow to attract ladybugs and lacewings that eat pests. Soap solution: 1 teaspoon dish soap plus 1 quart of water in spray bottle. Spray at dawn when pests are sluggish. Diatomaceous earth: dust food-grade DE around plant bases. It cuts soft-bodied pests like a microscopic razor. Heartfelt story: after my son's severe food allergies, I grew his first allergen-free garden. One morning, I found cabbage moth eggs on kale. Panic rose. This was his only safe food. Instead of chemicals, I hand-picked every egg and released ladybugs. He ate that kale with tears in his eyes. "Mama, you protected my food." For renters, use yellow sticky traps, $1, on stakes to monitor flying pests. Grow pest-repelling herbs like mint and basil in window boxes. Warning: never use broad-spectrum pesticides. They kill the good bugs that control pests naturally. This wisdom teaches true protection isn't about killing threats. It's about building alliances with life.
Mistake number 9, not keeping a garden journal, repeating the same mistakes. Feel that frustration as you can't remember why last year's beans failed. Not keeping a garden journal, the forgotten teacher that makes us repeat history. I learned this after my 3rd failed attempt at asparagus. I knew something was wrong, but couldn't recall the weather patterns, planting dates, or soil amendments. My mentor handed me her 40-year journal, pages filled with sketches, weather notes, and handwritten observations like July 12, 1983, monarch butterfly laid eggs on milkweed, harvested 12 tomatoes today. That's not record keeping, that's earth memory. Why this keeps gardeners stuck? Lost patterns. Without records, you can't see that your tomatoes always fail when planted before May 15th. Emotional amnesia. In spring's hope, we forget winter's lessons. Journals anchor us in truth. Missed connections. That sudden pest outbreak might correlate with the neighbor's pesticide use 3 days prior. Shame cycle. I should remember this when our brains aren't designed to track nature's complexity. Golden Garden Moments Memory Ritual. Simple format. Use a $2 notebook. Each page: date, weather, temp, rain, what you observed, blooms, pests, wildlife.
What you did: planted, watered, harvested. One feeling: hopeful, tired, amazed. Photo truth: take monthly photo phones of each garden bed. Compare year to year. Seed lineage: record seed varieties, sources, and performance. Note which ones thrived in your soil. Moon notes: optional, track planting and harvesting by moon phases. Many gardeners find patterns. Sacred moment: during my grief year after losing my father, I couldn't remember to water plants, let alone keep a journal. My daughter started one for me, a small pink notebook where she'd draw flowers and write, "Today the sun smiled, I missed Grandpa." That journal became my lifeline. Now I write in it every dawn with my coffee. For digital gardeners, use free apps like Gardenate or a simple Notes app. Take photos with cloud backup. Warning: never judge past entries harshly. "Why did I plant so late?" becomes, "I was healing then." This wisdom teaches true wisdom isn't in avoiding mistakes, it's in remembering how you grew through them.
Mistake number 10, expecting perfection and forgetting the joy. Hear that frustrated sigh as you pull another bolted lettuce? Expecting perfection, the deepest mistake that steals gardening joy. I learned this after my 5th failed carrot bed. I had measured rows, amended soil, watered precisely, but the carrots forked like Y's. I was ready to quit. Then my neighbor, a retired teacher, invited me to her ugly garden. We ate misshapen carrots, crooked zucchini, and tomato sandwiches on the porch. "Look at this beauty," she'd said, holding a lumpy carrot. "It grew anyway." That's not lowered standards, that's radical acceptance. Why this poisons the well? Comparison trap. Social media gardens hide years of failure behind filtered photos. Product over process. New gardeners measure success by pounds harvested, not moments lived. Perfection paralysis. Fear of mistakes freezes action. Empty beds stay empty. The shame spiral. One failed crop becomes, "I'm a bad gardener," stealing future joy. Golden Garden Moments joy ritual. Imperfect harvests. Celebrate ugly produce. Make soup from bolted lettuce. Pickle crooked cucumbers. Process journaling. Each evening write, "Today I saw blank. I felt blank. I learned blank." Not yields, moments. 5 senses pauses. Sit in your garden 5 minutes daily. Name one thing you see, one thing you smell, one thing you hear, one thing you feel, one thing you taste. A mint leaf. Failure feasts. Host a ugly produce potluck with neighbors. Share stories of what died and what lived anyway. Heartfelt story. After my cancer diagnosis, I couldn't kneel to garden. I planted one pot of herbs on my wheelchair tray. The basil got leggy, the parsley bolted, but one June morning a hummingbird visited the chive flowers. I wept. My oncologist later said, "You stopped measuring survival in months, you started measuring it in hummingbird visits." For beginners, start with one pot, one packet of seeds, 1 square foot of soil. Mastery grows from small yeses. Warning: never compare your Chapter 3 to someone else's Chapter 20. Your journey is yours alone. This wisdom teaches the garden doesn't want your perfection, it wants your presence.
Conclusion: your garden of grace. We've walked through 10 tender truths today: watering by soil, honoring earth, listening to light, timing with wisdom, giving space, testing soil, feeding life, seeing early signs, remembering patterns, and releasing perfection. But this isn't just a mistake list. It's a homecoming to grace. I know the voice whispering, "But my hands are clumsy, my soil is poor, my heart is tired." I've been there. Years ago, after that 3rd failed garden, I sat on my porch steps with empty seed packets, tears mixing with the dust. Then I pressed a single sunflower seed into the dirt, watered it once, forgot it. 2 months later, I found a 6-foot-tall bloom staring back at me, a golden face in a barren yard. That's when I understood. Gardening isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning to grow through them. Your sacred action plan starts tonight, not with grand gestures, but with radical smallness. Forgive one past failure, that drowned basil, that frozen peas. Whisper, "You taught me." Test your soil with a finger. Feel its truth. Make a promise to your spirit. I will grow anyway. I know the doubt hissing, but what if I fail again? Let me answer with truth. Last spring, I planted carrots too early. They rotted. I thinned them, replanted. The second batch thrived. My daughter placed a lumpy, forked carrot on my pillow. It grew anyway, Mama. That's not gardening. That's faith made visible. But more importantly, when your neighbor pauses on the sidewalk to admire your ugly zucchini, when your child eats a sun-warmed cherry tomato straight from the vine, when you sit in your imperfect garden at dusk, you're not just growing food, you're growing proof that life persists. If this hour fed your spirit, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to Golden Garden Moments and tap the bell icon. But this isn't just about growing our channel, it's about growing a movement. Before you go, do this holy thing. Place your palm flat on bare soil. Feel its cool stillness. Breathe onto it until warmth fogs the earth. Whisper, "I am ready to learn." That thaw beneath your palm, that's the first root remembering how to trust. You are not alone. As I speak, elders in Detroit turn vacant lots into grace gardens. Students in Tokyo grow imperfect herbs on fire escapes. Single mothers in Oslo plant lumpy potatoes with their children. We are the quiet keepers of resilient joy. Our tools are trowels. Our battle cry is grow anyway. Thank you for your courage, your hands in the soil, your refusal to let failure have the final word. However small your patch, however deep the doubt, your golden garden of grace awaits. Until next time, keep planting, keep forgiving, keep your hands in the living earth. This is not the end of gardening. It's the beginning of its deepest truth. I'm honored to grow alongside you. Good night, and blessed be.